Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I think this might be one of the most important programs that we have had in, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's really important. Topic: the left, not us Christians, the left is saying that massive arrests are going to start on, about, or shortly after April the 20th, yes, of 2025. It's shocking. And you're going to want to send this out to all your friends. Okay, so here's where I first discovered this. Now, I've been talking about these arrests since 2017. So this comes to us from Most Important News or Michael Snyder. Topic is a conspiracy theory that is being pushed by the left that claims that something really big is going to happen on April 20th. Now, they'll going to say April 20th or shortly after there, but that's the point. Now, I'm going to read most of this article, but you have to understand, apparently Michael didn't understand that probably what the left has stumbled across is a genuine plan to really genuinely do this. So he is thinking that is absurd, and most of the right, most of the Christians would think that this is absurd. But apparently, this leftist guy has actually discovered the truth. Oh, watch, this could be good. Most people on the right have no idea just how crazed many people on the left have become. Right now, a conspiracy theory which claims that President Trump is preparing to declare martial law in the United States is spreading like wildfire on social media. According to the conspiracy theory, a report will be submitted to the President Trump on April 20th, which will recommend that he should invoke the Insurrection Act, we'll talk about it, to help deal with the border crisis. That would allow U.S. troops to secure the border, but many leftists are convinced that President Trump will also use the U.S. troops to round up political activists and send them to prisons in El Salvador. Again, Michael is thinking this is just crazy. But we've been talking about this coming since 2017. This probably not crazy. I realize that this may sound really bizarre to many of you, but this is what many of them actually believe. And sad to say, or happy to say, they might be right. Early last month, an article was published by the San Francisco Chronicle, got the ball rolling by highlighting the fact that the Secretary of Defense and Secretary of Homeland Security will soon submit a report to the President Trump recommending whether to invoke the Insurrection Act. The clock is ticking, the article said. Down on a crucial but little noticed part of President Donald Trump's first round of executive orders, the one asking the Secretaries of the Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security to submit a joint report within 90 days recommending whether to invoke the Insurrection Act. Many of us are now holding our collective breath, knowing that the report and what it contains could put us on the slippery slope toward unchecked presidential power under a man with an affinity for iron-fisted dictators. That is not exactly an honest characterization of what the executive order says. I've reproduced the relevant portion of that particular executive order below. Here's what it says. Within 90 days of the date of this proclamation, the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall submit a joint report to the President about the conditions at the southern border of the United States and any recommendations regarding additional actions that may be necessary to obtain complete operational control of the southern border, including whether to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807. The Trump administration wants to use U.S. troops to help secure the border, and that is probably what we're going to see. But many leftists are absolutely convinced that we're also about to see martial law in this country. An article that was authored by an anonymous leftist known as anesthenines or whatever, that is entitled Part 1, on April 20th, 2025, the United States may cross the point of no return, has created a firestorm of panic among far-left radicals. According to the article, once President Trump officially invokes the Insurrection Act, it will set a, quote, larger plan in motion. And as his 2 months in office has already shown, he won't stop at just a legal opinion. Expect an executive order, even the same day or the next, officially declaring the Insurrection Act, restricting freedoms in the name of restoring control to the border and perhaps in blue state cities and setting the large plan in motion. Of course, this won't be framed as an attack on democracy. It will be packaged as a necessary response to crisis, as authoritarian, there we go, I'm not saying that right, takeovers always are. But once it happens, there's no going back. This will be the point of no return. So this is what this guy, Anesthetines, believes that the plan to implement martial law in this nation will unfold in 8 stages. 1, resist. Demonstrations grow, just as planned. And as you recall, what was it, last weekend? There was a big, April 5th, big, 50 different states had big protests, okay? 2, a false flag crisis would pop up, turning protests into terror. Well, that hasn't happened yet, but he says it's about to happen. Trump declares expanded martial law and calls for the militia to assist the police and military. Mass arrests of opposition leaders begins. Military and National Guard takeover of major cities. Well, actually, this is what the prophecies have been saying God is about to do to America in an effort to try to help us to clean up. 6, press censorship, total media control. The scuttlebutt on the internet is that when this happens, that the Trump administration will take over all radio, internet, TV, all communications. And they have an 8-hour video that shows the dastardly deeds of all of these people, all caught on video, and they play this 8-hour video. They loop it 24 hours a day for 10 days. Now, again, that's what the internet has said. That's the plan. Well, everything he is saying here actually is the plan. It sounds to me like the guy stumbled across the plan. Let's go on. Borders close. Dissidents are trapped inside. I'm going to read that again. Borders close. Dissidents are trapped inside. Notice it's not about keeping the illegals out. It's about keeping the bad people in so they can be caught and arrested and justice served. 8, elections are postponed indefinitely. Actually, every one of those, I don't know about 1 or 2, but 3 through 8, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much a pretty good overview of the plan that we've been watching for since 2017. Let's go on. On or slightly after April 20th, 2025, Trump will most likely sign an executive order invoking the Insurrection Act. The excuse will be to secure the border and deport violent gang member illegal aliens and possibly bring order to out-of-control cities. But it will be the first step to eventually fully declare martial law across the United States, suspend civil liberties, and the U.S. Constitution. He's correct. He's correct. That's exactly the plan. That's what the prophecies say. To most, it will come without warning. The press might even not even report on it till the last minute. No, that's not what the prophecies say. The prophecies say that Trump comes on and says that we have been taken over by a foreign force and he is blah, blah, blah going to fix it. The press might not even report on it at the last minute. When it happens, expect confusion, misinformation, panic. Many will be caught off guard. I'm going to say, and many will be caught. But a few of us won't be, at least not entirely, because we saw this coming. Yeah, the smart ones have already left. The ultimate purpose is to eventually overthrow the United States government, the all-capital United States government, not the real one, put Trump and his billionaire co-conspirators and people who share the values of his very fuzzy reactionary political coalition fully and permanently in control. I'll talk about it. This is nuts. But this is what they actually believe, and they're going to act accordingly. The narrative that the President Trump is some sort of dictator will motivate leftists to show up at protests or motivate them to start an internal revolution like Dmitry Dudin was told. And when some of those protests inevitably turn violent, and authorities are forced to respond, it will cause even more easily fooled people to embrace that narrative. You should see what leftists are already saying on social media. Here is just one example. Quote, as a veteran, if martial law is declared in the U.S., it means the Constitution is suspended. That's correct. Civilian government, gone. Free speech, assembly, press, gone. Curfews, checkpoints, arrest without warrants, no due process. I believe the military would stand with the people and Constitution. No, the military is actually on Trump's side. They're actually part of it. They're openly talking about civil conflict, and that's what many of the prophecies say is coming. And this has been going on for months. Actually, it's been planned since 2017 in the short term. But the real scoop was after JFK was assassinated, the military intelligence said, we've had enough of this. We've had enough of this secret organization, the Khazarian Mafia, the deep state, the Moloch ball worshippers, whatever you want to call it. We've had enough of them killing our leaders and thinking they ruled the world. So they set about a plan, the scuttlebutt is, to do away with them. And this is the start of their plan that they started back in 1963. They've been working on this for years, so I have heard. They're openly talking about civil conflict, and this has been going on for months. Most people on the right have no idea this is happening. Well, I've been trying to tell people. The conspiracy theory that I've discussed in this article has gained so much traction that Snoops was even forced to address it. One reader emailed Snoops, I'm seeing many posts on Facebook that on April 20th, Trump will declare martial law, unquote. Another person referenced in an executive order issued on January 20th, birthday of Trump's second term, and asked, quote, I've seen a variety of posts suggesting that an early executive order signed by the president has actually set the stage for imposition of martial law, and this will be triggered by a report on the state of the border that will be released on April 20th. Any truth here? At this point, Snoops considers the conspiracy theory to be more of a, quote, prediction than a provable claim. That's right. Yeah, well, the plans was supposed to be secret. It was never supposed to get out. As of this writing on April 9th, this rumor existed more than a prediction than a provable claim. Searches of the websites for the Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security, White House yielded no announcements, statements, or demonstrable evidence that might help to shed light on the unproven matter, and once again, Snoops is wrong. I actually think that there are many on the left that would love to see President Trump declare martial law. I'm one of them. Because they are convinced that that would give them justification for what they have been intending to do all along, as in clean up our nation. We have never been more divided as a society than we are right now, agreed. Civil disorder on a scale that we've never seen before is coming, even after all of the political violence that we have already witnessed in recent weeks, a lot of people still don't want to believe it. But sticking our heads in the sand won't make the threat go away. Our society is reaching a boiling point, agreed, and it won't be too long before events spiral completely out of control, agreed. Now, let me show you. So this is about the Insurrection Act according to Wikipedia. I'm just going to read the yellow part. You can go back and pause, read the whole thing if you want to. But this act provides a statutory exception to the Posse Comitatus Act that legally limits the president's deploying U.S. military to enforce either civil or criminal law within the United States. In other words, if he signs the Insurrection Act, he can use the military against U.S. citizens, and that is the plan. The military will arrest the bad guys, bad girls, and the military takes them into military tribunals on military land, such as a boat or a military installation, and they stand in a military tribunal before 3 military judges, and it's swift, hard justice. None of this right to remain silent, Okay, let's go on. There's more. The political, military, and police measures necessary to protect national security from extreme threats are exceptions to the restrictions of the Posse Comitatus Act. Now, what's happened? What has Trump done to get in the position to catch the evildoers. U.S. Army to control federal land along U.S.-Mexico border. So what he's done is set up the Department of Defense is going to control by the Army as part of the base, which would allow Trumps to detain trespassers. This is along a sliver of federal land on the U.S. border. More here in a minute. The transfer of that border zone to the military control and making a part of the Army installation is an attempt. No, it's the plan of the Trump administration to get around federal law that prohibits U.S. troops being used in domestic law enforcement in American soil. In other words, he's trumped their plan, and he plans to use the American military to arrest and to bring justice across the land. Let's go on. You can read it, pause to read it if you want to. So it goes on to say, this corridor, known as the Roosevelt Reservation, is a 60-foot wide, that's not too wide, 60-foot wide federal buffer zone that ribbons across the border from New Mexico to California, and it's active for the next 45 days. People not authorized to be in that area could be arrested by the Army's security forces. This is not civilian. This is military, and it looks like this. So if you look at that from El Paso stretching all the way to the West Coast, here's another picture of it from western Texas all the way to the coast. Now that 60-foot wide, anything that gets in there can be arrested. Well, most people are thinking, well, we want to catch all of those people coming up from Mexico. Yes, but I think it's there because they want to catch the people that are trying to flee from America. Once the arrests started, they're here, their buddies are being arrested, and they're trying to flee to Mexico, and the military is already down there to catch them. Let's go on with the article. Any migrants in the county illegally who are determined by military personnel on those lands to be turned over to the local civilian law enforcement agencies? No, it's going to be military. There's about 7,100 active troops under federal control, 4,600 National Guard troops under state control. Troops are prohibited from conducting civilian law. They're not there for civilian law enforcement. They're not there to catch the illegals. They're there to catch the legals that are evil, fleeing the above 48 states, or trying to. Civilian law enforcement on U.S. soil under the Posse Comitatus Act, but that will have been suspended by them, but would not apply here. Now let's skip to the big thing. The military purpose doctrine only applies if the law enforcement aspect is incidental. So the military purpose has nothing to do with enforcing customs and security at the border. This is not about civil. This is about catching some bad people. People in government, people in banking, okay? Let's go on. Here's another article. The Pentagon has sent Stryker Brigade and more troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. They're not trying to catch illegals. You know what the Stryker is? The Stryker Brigade? They use Stryker vehicles. This is serious. We are trying to catch anybody fleeing from America. It says 3,000 more active duty troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. This is the Stryker Brigade. This is a combat team. In other words, Trump is serious. This 2,000-mile border, they ain't fleeing to Mexico. They ain't getting past there. El Salvador won't return the wrongly deported Maryland man. I think this is wonderful that they've already got the Supreme Court to sign off that when they send them, be it by accident or on purpose, to El Salvador, they stay there. We're not going to go down and pick them up. Now, let me get on to the next article. I'll make a point here in just a second. Now, as you know, El Salvador's president just spent the day with Trump. By the time you watch this, it had been 2 days ago. And the president of El Salvador was asked if he will bring the guy back from Maryland that, quote, one source says he wasn't supposed to be there, but, what's that guy's name? The bald-headed guy? He said that's not true. He said he was supposed to go. Anyway, the point is, he's saying he's not going to return them. Okay, now, a couple more articles, then I'll show you. Trump calls for deporting some citizens to El Salvador, testing U.S. law. President Trump said on Monday he wants to deport some violent criminals who are U.S. citizens to Salvadorian prisons. You got it yet? Trump's comments marked the clearest signal yet that the U.S. president is serious about deporting naturalized and U.S.-born citizens, a proposal that has alarmed civil rights advocates. Okay, do you see it yet? Why would Trump want to send U.S. citizens to El Salvador? Well, for one, there's so many being arrested. We're guessing somewhere between, as I'm about to show you, 500,000 or have they've got sealed arrest warrants for 500,000. Okay, so there more than we can put in our prisons, more than we can put in the prison island of Diego Garcia. And there's another prison island, well, Gitmo, and then there's another one, Guam, is that it? I think it is. More than we have jails to hold. And besides that, when they send them offshore, Gitmo, Diego Garcia, or El Salvador, they don't have a right to remain silent. They don't have a right to an attorney. They don't have the right to a phone call. They don't have any rights at all. That'd be a pretty good way to get rid of a bunch of bad people pretty quick. Trump administration weighs deporting U.S. citizens. It says Salvadoran president here is offered to house in his jail dangerous American criminals. I don't think these are illegals. I think these are legals. These are bankers. These are big business people. These are political people that are evil and have broken the law, and he's going to prove that. Then, of course, we have border czar Tom Homan. He's telling TGP sanctuary officials, absolutely, you should be arrested, and suggest felony charges incoming. Hold tight on that one because it's coming. He said they're about to do it. Then he goes, the sanctuary city leaders, in other words, there's a lot of people that are in leadership positions across the land, and they think that they are okay. And my guess is they're about to be arrested. And they might find themselves on a plane to El Salvador, and they have no rights. Navy deploys another Houthi fighting warship to new U.S. southern border. Okay, so this is a ship that had been fighting the Houthis, but now it's at the U.S. southern border. It's not about catching illegals coming north. It's about criminals fleeing south. To support U.S. Northern Command, Southern Border Operations, in accordance with President Trump's recent executive orders, the executive orders included a national emergency declaration and clarification of the military's role in protecting the territorial integrity of the U.S. He's not protecting them heading north. He's catching them running south. I hope you're sending this out to your friends. Here's another one. March 23rd, 25, military tribunals are coming. Begenatter says that military tribunals are coming. Wisconsin independent journalist and election integrity investigator Peter Berniger, who works with CDM, says a consistently credible source for years on election fraud and political money laundering says military tribunals are coming. Those found guilty are going to be executed, 4 of at least 6 targets. Now, do you remember Pam Bondi was just interviewed? She was part of the cabinet here 2 days ago, and the light was shined on her, the camera faced toward her, and she says, oh yeah, we're going after them, and we're not going to give any breaks. Some of these people are going to get 20 years in prison. She was talking about the Tesla, people that are bombing the Tesla dealerships, and she said, and some will be executed. Wow, I don't think she's talking about burning Teslas being executed. I think she's talking about this. Let's go on, though. But the bad actors of the Russia collusion hoax, that's political. Those at the national, international level stealing our elections, that's political. A fair number of the CIA, a few selected military intelligence selectors. It's true if the SCIF with loads of evidence being held in it, and he's saying we caught them all. Now I'm told the results are coming, meaning tribunals. We're not talking about just prison sentences here. Let's move on. Okay, so this is the executive order that opened my eyes and let me see the plan. This is December 20, 2017. Now, this tells how they will not just block the property of people that do 2 things. If you look in the middle in the red, it says human rights abuse and corruption. So human rights abuse is talking about human trafficking, sex trafficking, things like that. And corruption, that's mostly political. If you skip on down to the bottom right in the red again, you see these are people that are engaging in corruption. The article goes on. You want to pause, you can read it. It'll tell you all the scoop. But this is after this is when the sealed indictments started getting filed. If you'll go to bad-boys.us, there you go. Go to it. bad-boys.us. This is what you're going to see. This tells you, if you look at the top there, that there's 484,461 sealed indictments. What's a sealed indictment? It's an arrest warrant, but it's sealed because they know that once they flip the light on and they start arresting all the cockroaches, the other cockroaches are going to run part to the seas, part to the north, but probably most of them are going to be trying to go south to the Mexican border. And that's why they've already got the military down there to catch them. So 484,000, that's 500,000. And they probably got a lot more of that since Doge has been. Okay, let's go on. So in case you're wondering, is this real? Well, I'm running out of time. But 11/11/2019 was when Trump started saying, I caught them all. I caught all of this corruption going on. Nobody else could have done it. Then he confirmed it 9/7/24 when he said, if you'll vote for me, all of this hoaxing, plotting will come to an end. It's going to come to an end. We're going to cash out the corrupt political class. We're going to restore our republic, drain the swamp. Once and for all, we're going to get it done. And I got lots of these. Here's another one. Massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, articles. Now look at the next thing. Look at it. Look at it. Even those found in the Constitution. What's that saying? It's saying Constitution going bye-bye. Why? Because people have used the Constitution that was supposed to be set up for a group of Christians to keep Christians in line, but we don't have that many Christians in America anymore. And so to clean house, you've got to lay the Constitution aside. Hopefully it'll come back. My guess is we'll never see it again. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. Here's another one. August 24th or August 27th of 24. They're going to be held accountable. Here's another one. This is telling you all the words, and you can stop and read if you want to. But look at this one. When I win, those people cheated will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That's what Pam Bondi said, which will include long-term prison sentences so this depravity of justice does not happen again. Remember, the fall of America starts with an internal revolution, but look below. The military will step in and seize control of our federal government, and I have run out of time. prophecyclub.com. We could use your financial support.